Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another NAIFA at 9. We're very excited today. We have some great speakers. We have a lot of events coming up for NAIFA New York and nationally. And before I want to welcome everybody and introduce you to Corey, who's going to talk about some of the upcoming program, and then we'll come back to the regular program in a minute. So, Corey.
All right. Thank you, Neil, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to NAIFA New York at 9. I'm going to share my screen with you really quickly and walk you through a couple of exciting things that we have coming up. And we'll start off by announcing the lineup for next month's call, which will be on April 13th at 9 a.m. And we're going to do a New York advocacy update featuring Paul Shaka, our VP of Advocacy, Mike Murphy, and Laura Evangelista with Greenberg Traurig, our lobbying firm in Albany, and also guest appearance by Rich LeConte, who is the CEO of LICONI, the Life Insurance Council of New York, our carrier partners. And they are going to give us an update on what's happening in Albany and what you can look forward to with some of the other programming that we have coming up, including our spring member experience tour. We are bringing back by popular demand our fall tour that we did last year in September. We're going to be making the rounds again, visiting Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Westchester, and Long Island the week of April 18th. More details will be coming out later this week about that, so please watch your inbox for that. Also, too, kind of one of the reasons we're having our legislative program next month on our NAIFA at 9 call is our legislative day is coming up May 3rd through 4th at the Renaissance Albany. We'll be gathering on the afternoon of the 3rd for a legislative briefing. We'll do a joint legislative reception with LICONI, and then we'll do meetings at the Capitol on the morning of the 4th. So may the 4th be with us, and may you be with us on the 4th as we go up to the Capitol. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself. It was just too easy. And then I certainly want to remind you about our congressional conference, which is coming up in Washington, D.C., May 23rd through 24th, so just a few weeks later. If you have not had a chance to register for that, you still have the opportunity. I know Neil and Larry plan to be there, so join them as well as a whole host of other NAIFA New York folks as we go up to DC and talk about the important issues of the day with our congressional representation. And last but certainly not least on my list for today is to put on your radar screen a brand new program that NAIFA National is hosting called NAIFA's Apex. It is a sales summit for the American advisor. It is designed to supercharge your business opportunities. And it will be at the Arizona Biltmore on August 16th through 18th later this year. So more information will be coming out about that soon. So as you can see, both in New York and on the national level, we have a great deal of stuff coming up for NAIFA members to keep you involved and provide value to you throughout the year, because after all, together we can take on anything. And with that, Mr. Himmelstein, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So our goal is to help, educate and to advocate and to meet lots of great people, common goal. And one of the things that you need to be aware of right now with inflation, our products are dramatically changing and being affected every day. Just as a quick update, annuity rates are way up on the fixed side. Fixed buckets of universal life products are up. Dividends are down on whole life. And on index products, despite interest rates going up, caps are going down. And that's because of the cost of hedging and the volatility in the market. So all these things affect the products we deal with every day. And you should be aware of that, of the changing things in the market so that you can help your clients best. Today, we are very honored to have with us 3 guests: John Emanuel, who is a NAIFA member and big supporter, and who works with Principal as a disability expert. Larry Estridge, who works with the DBL Center, who's got tremendous experience in not only disability, but worksite disability and some other areas of disability. He works with the DBL Center and is on the NAIFA board for diversity. Selena Kuchera, who we just met, works with the DBL Center also and is an expert on DBL, which is state disability, and family leave, which are things that I know not that much about, but we need to have as business people and need to talk about. So today we're going to demystify disability. And in doing that, we need to discuss with our clients income protection. It is the most important thing. The biggest asset we have is our income. And to our business owner, it could be their income as well as their business income. So both of these areas need to be protected and need to be discussed. And it's advisors like us that are in those doors that have to bring it to the forefront, whether they're doing a buy-sell agreement, and we need to talk about, what happens if one of the partners becomes disabled, or just running their business, or for them personally, how can they maximize disability? And there's all types of disability protecting income. And I wanted to bring that to light. I think it's very important. And some of the misconceptions about disability are what if my client is overweight? What if they have problems? What if they're a mechanic? It's not just for doctors and lawyers and business people. It's everybody needs disability coverage, and there's all different forms and all different carriers that can help accomplish that goal. So we want to start off with asking John Emanuel a couple questions. LIMRA has done some studies on disability, and I think it's very important, especially with long COVID now and everything else. Can you share with us some of the insights that LIMRA has about disability and coverage in general?
Yeah, so, good morning, everybody, and welcome. I think the industry had a pretty strong year last year. We were actually up as an industry in terms of overall premium. If you look back to 2020, when the pandemic first started, the industry wrote about 129 million. It was actually up 1% in 2021 to about 35 million of total premium. When you look at income protection, I hate to use that word disability, and I think that's the phrase when we're discussing, disability insurance with individuals, is to use the phrase income protection. Income protection is obviously the most sold product in the marketplace, but we sort of forget about, as you said, Neil, our business solutions, our business overhead expense, our disability buyout products in the marketplace. In the marketplace last year, if you think about America, there's over 28 million small businesses in America, and 99% of those small businesses have less than 20 employees. So the opportunity for our individual overhead and disability products have never been greater. But if we look at the premium that has been generated, or the discussions that have been had with our small business owners, it's, to me, astounding of what is actually being discussed and sold in this marketplace. In 2021, a total of $9 million of premium to about 3,600 business owners. Out of those, 28 million purchased business overhead expense. And if we looked at disability buyout, only about 3.3 or $3.2 million was sold to less than 1,000 business owners. So when people say, what's a good market for income protection and disability insurance, it's that small to medium-sized business that could use all of our solutions, from individual disability to overhead expense to disability buyout. The market is truly untapped. Producers just need to start to have the conversation. Ask them, what's your greatest asset? What would you do if you became disabled tomorrow? Not only for you, but your employees and your business. How would your business continue to run long-term, or the value of the entity? What would you do? What would you and your partner do if one of you became disabled?
That's very compelling. And when I've done disability meetings in the past, one of the things I found, and I work with a lot of CPAs and attorneys, is they're all drafting these buy-sell agreements and everything else. And they talk about it. They talk about what happens if your partner dies, what happens if they become disabled, but rarely is it funded. And it's not funded by a, we have the magic, we have the power, we have the products to fund that. What if? That's what we do for a living. And, your company provides some great solutions for doing that. I want to move over to Larry here for a second, because one of the things that Larry taught me a long time ago, now both John and Larry, were you both with Paul Revere at one time, or was it Unum?
That's where we cut our teeth. It was, our formative beginnings, little humble beginnings. There were quite a few of us there that ended up with most of the major carriers. John went over to principal. I had a stint over at Union Central Emeritus. People went to Mass Mutual, Met, Guardian, etc. So yeah, they did a good job grooming us.
And the industry it's vast. I mean,
Yes.
and the industry was much larger at one time in the sense that there were many more carriers. And when there were many more carriers, there's many more discussions, and then the industry kind of blew up for a while because they figured out how to get to this, and then there was a consolidation, and then the conversation stopped talking. So the opportunity to revive that conversation is huge. But back in the day when Larry was with one of those companies, he taught me something about what we call GSI, or a guaranteed standard. A lot of people don't know about this, but there's individual disability, there's group disability, and then there's this worksite thing, which is called guaranteed standard issue. You want to talk about that just for a second, Larry?
Sure. Well, when you're talking about worksite, all right, guaranteed standard issue is a term that could be utilized on the individual side, which John, just touched on. But it's more of an underwriting concession when you talk about guaranteed standard issue. It means exactly what it is. It's a guaranteed offer, and it won't require any underwriting whatsoever. There are other ones that are called simplified, where there are just a few questions asked, usually blood and urine, maybe a couple of medical questions. Depending upon the carrier, depending upon the offer, depending upon the participation, you'll get certain concessions that would be allowed. Now, when you're talking about short-term disability and long-term disability as a group, that offer is guaranteed issue every time. But the caveat with that is participation again. Usually it's the greater of 5 lives or 10% of the group. So that keeps the company safe from getting, people who, you're getting mostly just sick people who are ready to go on claim. It protects you because you're going to get the volume and the numbers that you need to keep it consistent. Guaranteed standard issue, as I mentioned, from company to company, it can vary. I do know in the case of principal, they can go down as low as 5 lives. Sometimes if you make a good case, they may listen and possibly offer you something a little bit less than that, but that's not what we aim for. Again, it depends on industry, it depends on product, which product you're offering, and it depends on what carrier you're working with.
So I think it's very important where it integrates with group. So group pays like group kind of commissions. So a lot of people don't do group, maybe they just do individual stuff. And it pays like a group commission, but there's a limitation to the group. Typically, the typical group type of coverage may cover up to $5,000 a month. And for most executives, that's not enough money. And then these executives know they need possibly more insurance. And I've run into many law firms where the main lawyer's maybe got a few pounds overweight, he's had diabetes, he's got some issues, or accounting firms or something else, and they may not be able to get typical coverage or regular coverage. The nice thing about guaranteed standard issue is you can have a buy-up for all your employees, including your highly compensated people. It pays real commissions, not group commissions. I mean, like first year, like we're typical of. And you can get that coverage for those people who really need it and need to protect these incomes and need to protect their businesses. So it's a great add-on. It's a great thing to ingratiate yourself, not only with that executive, but also ingratiate yourself with the entire group. And what I found is, and the secret to this, one of the secrets that I figured out was even if not everybody's going to buy into the guaranteed standard issue, where we've been successful is we've had the group buy a minimal amount for everybody of guaranteed standard issue and allowed them to buy up. And it gave you the opportunity to meet with the entire group and talk with everybody in that group about buying up and the importance of disability. And of course, that opens up other sales, life sales, rollovers, or whatever else you do. So I think very important that you speak to experts who are knowledgeable in this area. And both Larry and John are great experts in these areas. Then I want to move on to Selena for a second. Selena's an expert on what they call state DBL, and it's something that is a required thing, disability. I'm not, like, I've been in the business a long time. It's nothing I ever did. I always thought that, can you be a life license and sell this? I mean, I always thought it was a PNC product. I didn't know state DBL and all that. Can you explain what that is
Sure.
and how that works?
Good morning, everyone. So New York State disability became law in 1949. So it's been with us for quite some time. Anybody who is a business operating and has employees in the state of New York is required to have this insurance. Okay, so if you have any employees, you need to hold New York State disability. You can write New York State disability with a life license because most of the carriers are on life paper. PNC license aren't the preferred license, but we can still work around it. It goes hand in hand, the New York DBL, and we'll tap onto this a little bit later now, goes hand in hand with the paid family leave. What New York disability is, it is for off-the-job injury. So off-the-job injury, serious illness, maternity, all that would be picked up under these claims. The benefit is statutory benefit in New York is 50% to 170. It is not a large benefit. We do have carriers that do options to buy up so we can enrich. Some of the carriers will go as high as 50% to $850 a week. Benefit duration is 26 weeks in a 52-week period. Benefits commence on day 8. So there is a 7-day waiting period. So if someone has a common cold, obviously that is not an illness that is going to get pushed through on a DBL claim.
So it's mandatory, right?
It's mandatory, absolutely.
And when I started my business, because I started, when I started my business, I didn't know it was mandatory, and I actually got fined by the state for not having it. Even though I started with 2 people in my business, it was all of a sudden I got this big fine. I go, why didn't anybody talk to me about it? I was really pissed off, and shame on me. I should have known about this. And so every business has to have it. So when you're in a business, you want to review that, make sure they have it. And do you have the right coverage, and is it the right price? And, Selena can help you in that area because this is a big area. It's a huge product. And all these different products are very important. If you're doing comprehensive planning, you need to know a little bit about something, or at least know who to call, when you run into a business and they have issues. And when you're reviewing their insurance, this is something you need to look at, right? That's very important, right? And having the right family leave. I mean, all this is very regulated and very important. If the coverage isn't right, the business could lose thousands or millions of dollars, either from a claim or not having the coverage that they need. As a matter of fact, I recently had a friend of my daughter's was doing construction work, and I know he was being paid under the table, and he died. This happened like 3 weeks ago. He was actually working on a cesspool, and it had some kind of fumes that caved in. It's in the newspaper. I know the company. There's going to be massive suits here. Okay, it's just, and people being upset because they were never approached. They were never discussed. They were paying under the table. The companies made themselves very vulnerable. The insurance people involved or not involved, shame on them, shame on the company. A lot of companies are operating with false pretenses. So these things are very, very important. And I think you need to know about this. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, now let's move into what's the difference between that and, let's say, short-term disability. Is that the same thing, Selena?
Well, okay, so not every business obviously has to carry short-term disability, right? So in the state of New York, by law, we have to have state mandated disability. So what that mandates is 8-day benefit starts, a 7-day waiting period. It's a 26-week benefit in a 52-week period. But remember, again, as I mentioned to you before, benefit is only 50% to 170. So sometimes what people choose to do is offer short-term disability to run along with it. The DBL, that 170 is going to offset initially that STD plan. So if
Okay.
you do have STD and, maybe it covers a little bit more, it's a little bit more comprehensive than the DBL, it's going to get offset initially by the DBL.
So the
You
DBL,
need to, right, that short-term disability in New York is not going to come in place of that New York DBL. You absolutely have to have an approved carrier in New York that's writing it.
okay, so DBL is offered by an insurance company. The benefits are paid by the insurance company or the state, or how does that affect your state
So,
disability? I'm
You can get
confused.
disability insurance, right? The state mandate disability insurance from private carrier, state insurance fund, they offer it, or self-insured. You're really not going to find a lot of employers that are self-insured. You're talking very large groups to go self-insured, and most don't. So really your two options are either private carrier or state insurance fund. So if any claims are coming through, it is the private carrier or the state insurance fund that are paying those claims.
Okay. So then there's short-term and how's that integrate with, and somebody else can pick this up, John or Larry, how's that integrate with long-term disability? If I'm on short-term disability, can I collect my long-term disability? Or does one have to end and another one start, or how does that all work? Any one of you
Well,
can answer that.
Traditionally,
That is
how
all.
it works is short-term works in conjunction with the long-term disability. The short-term may run 13 weeks or 26 weeks. And as soon as that ends, because it's capped at a certain amount too, works with the state DBL, as Selena just explained. Once that is over, the long-term disability starts up. Once that starts up, it can run to a higher amount. Usually it's about $5,000, could be $10,000, depending upon the group and the incomes. And once that kicks off, it can go from age 65, 67, age 70, depending upon what is selected by the employer, or in sometimes when it's voluntary, the employee.
So if I buy a long-term disability plan, and typically a lot of them are 90 days or 180-day waiting period.
Right.
Yet I have short-term disability at work, or maybe I have my own short, but I buy a long-term disability and I become disabled. After 90 days, I want to start collecting on my long-term disability, but I'm still collecting on my short-term disability. Or DBL, how does that, like, do I,
You usually try to, what you try to do, Neil, is actually make sure it fits like a puzzle piece. You'll have your short-term disability run up to the 90 days. Like I said, 26 weeks is equal to about that, the 90-day mark, or the 13 weeks, I should say, equals that at that time. And then you will put the long-term disability product on top of that. So when that short-term offer ends, your long-term picks up from there.
can I
So it's
collect both? That's the question.
You would collect both, but it usually doesn't cross over. It doesn't make a lot of sense. If you have the right person, producer working with you, agent, broker, whatsoever, they would set it up so it's not really crossing over that way. It's connected.
If they
Right.
cross though, if it's state mandated benefit, right, that 170 is going to get taken off of, it's going to be 170 less from long-term, or if you have a short-term. So you're not getting the 170 plus the full amount from that. It would just be less that 170 benefit.
And that's
until
really
short-term, right?
That's really talking about the short-term and the state DBL, not really necessarily the short-term and then the long-term. There's
Right.
three different pieces here. The only time you see where things are offset would be the short-term disability with the state DBL. The other thing that Selena did touch on, but I want to make sure that the people who are, plugged in right now on this call understand. People take the path of least resistance when it comes to this. Just like you getting your cable bill. You complain about your cable bill, but until something really comes at you and someone says you can get this service a lot cheaper, do people move on? So they go to the state, and you know how the state runs things. Try getting a claim through the state or anything else. A lot of times when you privatize your state DBL, you will find that it will be a much more competitive rate. So that's where you reach out to us or to whatever resource you may have, just to check it out And Selena will explain a little bit later how you have to do it quarterly. I think the next one is by April 1st. You need to make sure if you want to look into switching anything up. But we've had great success in finding more competitive rates because people just basically went to the state because they said, oh, it's a law, we need to do it, and just wanted it off their table. Save some money here, maybe you're spending it on something else for other coverages.
So it's a great resource. And, you know, one of the other things that I want to cover, and, you know, for you experienced people, you probably know this. For you people new in the business, I think one of the big objections you're going to have is, oh, I have the coverage at work and I'm covered. John, tell me what the problem is with that.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest concerns when people think they have a true 60% of their income. And that could be true on that lower income scale. You know, we talked earlier about replacement ratio. Most plans are 60% to 5,000, which would cover an income up to 100,000. If there's a 60% to 10,000 a month, that would cover someone's income up to 10,000 a month. But a lot of people don't realize that once your income exceeds that 100 or 200,000, you're not at a true 60% replacement ratio. And it's for those folks where that individual supplemental executive plan would come into place. Most people don't realize with those group long-term disability plans, some of the shortcomings. I think group is a good basic start for long-term protection in terms of a disability need. But again, remember, if the employer is paying for that premium for those long-term disability benefits, it's going to be a taxable benefit to that insured. Take an example, someone earning that 100,000 and they have 60%. They're like, well, I'm covered. But on a net basis, when they were working, you know, and healthy, 83.33 a month, net basis, they're probably going to net around 6,000 a month using a 30% tax bracket. On that LTD, now they're going to earn around 5,000 a month. 60% of the 100,000 is about 5,000 a month. But now that's going to be taxable. So now they're going to net around $3,500 a month. So when they were healthy and working, they were earning about 6,000. Now, when they're disabled, they're now earning about 3,500. So during a disability, they just took about a 40% pay cut due to a disability. Ask that person or that executive or that key person, could they survive? Could them and their family survive on that $3,500 a month? The answer is probably no. Most group plans don't cover incentive compensation. So there's a gap in what that basic protection can cover. And what the supplemental income protection can do is bring those key individuals up to what I call a 60% replacement ratio, or even sometimes up to a 75% replacement ratio. We talked briefly earlier about guarantee issue. On an employer paid basis with 5 lives, we're looking at offering $5,000, sometimes $7,500 a month on a guarantee issue on our individual disability product offerings. So all we're trying to do is make those highly compensated individuals whole. So someone at 200,000 has the same kind of benefit package as that person who's making $40,000 or $50,000. I think in the marketplace today, businesses are looking to obviously retain key employees and give benefits as a way of compensation to their key employees. And one of the ways we're seeing as a marketplace, as an industry, is offering the executive benefit income protection. We've seen growth in this marketplace over the last 2 years because why? Carriers are making it easier for organizations to offer these types of benefits with the electronic enrollment, the ease of doing this business. It's really become a great marketplace for producers who have these small entities to offer these supplemental plans.
Excellent. And how about
Hey,
portability?
Neil?
Portability, I want to address that real quick.
Yes. So yeah, that's also true. I should have mentioned that on our group, on most group long-term disability plans, it's not a portable product. So if you're working at ABC company for 10 or 15 years and you decide to leave and go out on your own, you cannot port that long-term disability coverage. Or if you can, it's such a limited benefit amount and so expensive that truly no one does take that with them. With the supplemental executive bonus executive plans that we can implement, those products are completely portable with the rates you have. Because remember, individual income protection is a non-cancelable and guaranteed renewable contract. Once the protection is in force, whatever age you're buying it, the benefits, the provisions, you can take that with you no matter where you go, same occupation or even a different occupation. The value of these benefits to executives or key employees has never been greater for small businesses.
Right.
Sorry, Larry, you're going to say something?
Yes, so John talked about, the retention of an employee. It also is a great recruitment tool as well. When you're utilizing, you mentioned buy up, Neil, earlier. Carve out is the term that I like to use when you have these executive opportunities. And there might be people on this call that say, you know what, I deal with groups, I don't deal with the executives, but you know what, you have these groups. And just as John mentioned, when there are caps on your long-term disability, it's your fiscal responsibility to make sure that these people are truly covered. And it's a simple thing. You send us the census, we can help you identify these opportunities. John and I have worked on several cases where we look at the census and we find out the high earners who aren't truly completely covered the way they should be. Right. And as John said, it's a portable piece. It's a benefit that stays on the books more than your average, even life insurance, which somebody will come in and say, so your producer, your agent, your broker did not write this correctly. You should have this. Once it's set up in the disability, with the disability or income protection or paycheck protection, whatever you want to call it, once that's set up, it stays on the books, and the payouts are very nice. It does vary.
That's a great point. I know people who, well, forget about making a living, doing the right thing. So, you have a lot of young, well, not a long, if you run into a young person that, like I know, one of my son's friends just became a doctor. Now, doctors, it's funny, I know a lot of people that work and sell to physicians just whether they're getting their degree or just getting ready to get coverage. And one of the things they can buy up is like future benefits. Okay, I know in 2 years, I'm going to be a cardiologist and going to be making $400,000 a year. But right now I'm a resident and I'm only making beans, like if nothing at all. I'm paying off my college tuition. So there are policies that can create huge increases in the future. And I think the value of what you said is very important, because most of the people in our industry, the good people that have been around, know this. But I'd say most people in the industry will sell a product and they'll walk away. But what you're doing is establishing a basis of selling a product that not only will stay on the books, will give you a reason to call that doctor 5 years to a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when he's making real money and providing other benefits, increasing not only their disability, talking about life insurance and all the other asset protection products that we sell and do or manage money. And now they're going to be in a position to be a great client, but because you have them in your drawer, they're your client for life.
Right.
And their families.
Right.
And I think that's so important. And disability income protection is the most valuable product, is the most valuable thing. Even in CFP courses or anything else you take, they tell you it's the #1 thing that you need to discuss, not only to keep you legally correct, but it's our profession to talk about this. We have a fiduciary responsibility to discuss this. This is a very, very important problem. Now, just want to move on to one other area, then we can get back to some other things. One of the big objections, and I can counter this with, I know John, I know Larry and myself and our children. I can give you situations all the time. My daughter never thought, young, healthy, worked for Apple, 23 years old. She's driving on Sunrise Highway and she gets rear-ended by a car. Stop and go traffic. Girl was texting behind her. Okay, didn't have the right insurance, whatever. She got rear-ended and she recently had a back operation, been suffering with bad back and neck for 7 years because of this. She's basically been on and off disability. Thank God she has great disability coverage. But people think it'll never happen to you. It could happen from a skiing accident. It could happen from a cancer. It could happen from I know my own situation. I had an autoimmune disease. They thought I had cancer. I could have, and Larry knew me at the time. I mean, we talked about it. Everybody's had their own personal thing. The big misbelief is it'll never happen to me. I'll never become disabled. It is the most common things that happens to everybody at some point in the road where they're facing a health crisis, whether it's because of a cancer or something else, an accident. So all these things are triggering events. What do you find, John, on the personal side? Where do most people become disabled? And let's not forget mental nervous either, by the way.
Yeah, no, I think when most people think about a disability, like you said, they think it's going to come from an accident, a car accident, a ski accident. But honestly, about 85 or 90% of the claims as we see as an industry come from illnesses, heart attack, stroke, mental nervous, musculoskeletal. If I was to tell you that, principal, our total book of business is about 550 million. And in 2021, we paid out over 140 million in total disability claims to individuals who suffered from disabilities. About 2,500 claims were paid to individuals who suffered a disability. Now, you think about disabilities, we have products that pay 2 years, 5 years, age 65, all the way out to age 70. The average duration for a disability is 2.5 to 3 years. But I don't think people understand that if their income stopped for 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, or even a year, what's the plan? If they don't have income protection in place, where would they turn? Could they turn to credit cards, spouse's income? Could they take a loan out? All those things are options. But I say to them, spend 1 to 2% of your income, because that's the average cost for income protection, about 1 to 2% to give you 60% true protection. But most disabilities are from an accident or from an illness versus an accident. And I think that's one of the biggest myths, because if we all ask each other, family members, friends, we all know somebody who's had a heart attack, stroke, has cancer, lower back problems. How many medications as we get older we start taking due to our declining health as we get older? Thank God for modern medicine, because if you think about some of the things that people are living with today, 25, 30, 40 years ago, some of these ailments probably would have, killed a lot of people, or mortality would have been greater. Now you're living longer with ailments that might have killed us 30, 40 years ago.
That's correct.
It's causing disabilities versus death.
And
Neil,
if you have any clients that are, let's say, I can't tell you how many dentists that I've come across. Everyone's got back problems. They're leaning over, but you know what? They know they're going to be disabled at some point.
Right.
Exactly.
And,
Neil,
you know what? They're asking for the product.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that you know a little bit or enough to ask somebody or bring it up, because they're thinking this in the back of their head. I can't tell you how many dentists I know, doctors I know, who have multiple disability products because they know the light. They see it every day. They feel it every day. They know people and attorneys. They see their clients. Why do so many attorneys buy disability? They see their clients become disabled every day, so it's flat in their face. So if you're talking to any of these professionals, that's why they're so big on disability doctors, attorneys, because they know the odds. They see it. They see the impact on families, the impact on people.
I think, a lot of professionals in the industry are talking about life insurance. Families or individuals want to protect their family in the event of a premature death during their working career, but you're like 3 to 4 times more likely to become disabled during your working career than you are dying. So again, I think with income protection, it's all about just having the conversation with individuals to ask them the question, if something happened to you for a long period of time, what's your plan? We know that Selena talked about New York State disability, what that provides, maybe some short-term, maybe some long-term disability, but I think you want to talk about there is an opportunity to supplement what those programs are. Simplified underwriting, the guarantee issue. It's just about asking the question, do you think you're adequately covered for an income protection loss if something happened to you? You protect your car, you protect your home. People are protecting their iPhones, right?
Right.
People are making sure that, you know, their $1,000 iPhone is covered in case they break it. Well, what happens if you break for a prolonged period of time? Where's the income going to come to pay for your everyday living expenses? Is the group going to be enough to cover your everyday living expenses? And then let's not forget about, we're all trying to help people plan for retirement, right? We're all trying to save for 401k investments. If a disability does strike somebody, the first place that they're going to go to get income is going to be to you as a financial professional to get those funds. So not only are they going to be hurting their retirement plan, but they're going to have less going forward to put into those retirement plans. So
Right.
It's a double whammy for them. It makes sense to spend 1% to protect 60% long-term.
You got it. And I
Neil?
don't want to, I just want to shift topics for 1 second, Larry.
Okay.
First off, to all the women in the world, I want to say, you know, this is Women's History Month, and I want to draw my attention to Selena. So Selena, I thank you and all the women, believe me, it's very important. And I want to discuss with you as a woman in business, how important disability is to you. As you know, I'm finding that most of my clients now happen to be women, and women seem to be, in my mind, are much better planners because they're much better caregivers in a sense that they feel these issues and they understand these issues probably better than some of the men do. Now, I don't mean to sound prejudiced or anything. Selena, what are your thoughts? And I just wanted to touch on that for a minute.
I know, I think it's very important to have a plan. I mean, if you lose your income, what are you doing? Right? You know, like John said, are you relying on a spouse, or are you getting credit card debt, etc.? So as a planner, right, having a family, I worry about needing to be able to take care of my kids if something were to happen to me. And obviously not death, but if I'm not able to, work, we're a 2-income family, that's going to affect what we do for our kids on a daily.
Right, but women in role are the caregivers of our society right now,
Mhm.
and they have the dual role of working. So it's so important to be talking to your women clients or women prospects because they understand that dual role. And if one thing happens in that role, whether they can't be a good mother or they can't be a good parent or a good child to their parents and work at the same time, that those added pressures, I think, really lead to a lively discussion about disability and long-term care, of course, but all those topics, and I think it's very important. So I think it's very important. I do want to honor the women that are not only, in our society, my mother, my grandmother, my daughter, but the women business owners and women family members that really run this society. And I think it's so important that we talk about this because it's so important that we include women in this conversation. It's bigger than just talking to Joe down the street. It's the women who are really going to dictate and understand the pressures and are looking to cover disability. I think it's so important to have this conversation. And women-owned businesses, I mean, this is huge right now. It's a huge market and it's hugely important. More than anything, protecting your income is your largest asset that you have is your income. It's not your house. It's not your car. It's not your Mercedes. It's your income. Your ability to pay your bills reflects everything you do in life. So I think that's the importance, and I definitely wanted your input. I did want to open it up if there's any questions. Anybody have any questions? You can type them in the chat bar if you have any questions. If not, I want to recap where we are. And is there anything that you want to add at this time, Selena, about what it is you do? And
Yeah, absolutely. So two things. As we mentioned before, New York State disability is statutory, but along with it, as of 2018, is paid family leave in New York, right? So the paid family leave benefit is not on yourself. That is to care for someone, bonding, military leave. The benefit, they give you 12 weeks. It is a 67% benefit as of the 2022 year. So it's 67% of your salary to a maximum benefit of $1,068. So it's a nice benefit, as a woman, again, and having a family. I mean, it really is a benefit because as a mother, when you have a newborn infant, you can now take your disability on yourself. And that's usually a 6 to 8 week benefit, but then you're picking up another 12 weeks to bond with your newborn. So you essentially can be out of an office anywhere from, 16 to 18 weeks and being home with that infant.
Yeah, I want to go more into that because my daughter's thinking of getting pregnant. So she's thinking have a baby right now. And if she were to have a baby, her and her husband, would he have family leave also? How does family leave work?
Yeah. So they also offer it. So not the disability portion, okay, right? Because the disability portion is on the mother for the birth, right? But the paid family leave portion, the men can take time off also to bond. So now they are also entitled to that 12-week benefit.
So they both work for a company. So this is something they would have to buy outside the company?
No, it's part of the state mandated disability. It is added as a rider to the New York State disability. So as long, obviously your employer needs to have the New York State disability, they also need to have the New York State paid family leave. It goes hand in hand.
They live in Hawaii. What do all states have this?
So Hawaii in itself has some benefits too, and it's through the state. I'm not sure if Hawaii does a PFL, but they do a disability benefit.
Disability, right.
Yep.
So, I mean, but when you're talking to people, not everybody just does business in New York.
Right.
And their kids are outside New York. So my son's in Denver, my daughter's in Hawaii. So,
more and more states are starting to roll out products, okay?
But there's no national, my point is there's no national consistency. So this is another question that when you're talking to your clients and you're talking about this topic and you're mentioning family leave, whether they're a business owner or an individual, and this is one of their concerns, and they're, me, I'm 63, I'm thinking about my kids and, what's their progression? Are they covered? What if they get pregnant? What if they become disabled? What if, this happened? What, how am I going to help my clients and my children without bringing these topics up? And I'm probably negligent. I probably didn't bring up a lot of these topics then, but right now you've given me cause to think about this. How about my son in Denver? He just got a big promotion, a big job.
Colorado is going to be offering a disability paid family leave. I believe they are rolling out in 2024. So there's really not that much information on it yet. More and more states have started rolling out products. The most recent states to come on board are Massachusetts and Connecticut, 2 states that we can privatize in. They offer disability paid family leave benefit. Colorado, like I said, will be doing it as of January 2024. Oregon's going to be doing it as of January 2023. So it's all in the works.
Wow.
But, not there yet.
What a huge resource you are to me. I mean, this is humongous. And to everybody listening, this is big. I mean, listen, we want to help our clients, but we want to be a resource to them. We want them coming to us for all our product. And you know what? You don't get it all from Google. I'm sorry. All these self-knowledge things. You need to speak to people like us. This is why we're needed. Okay, this is why we're needed to your client. This is what makes our job better than calling 1-800 buy life insurance and buy something that they can't convert and is crap, to buying something that they really need and really want. And the key is, if someone goes on claim, they have somebody to call and make sure that they get their claim and make sure they get the insurance that what they wanted to get, they can get. That's our value. And that's our value proposition. And being part of NAIFA makes you realize, trying to wrap this all together, part of the value proposition to your clients and being knowledgeable and understanding these products and understanding if I don't understand everything, I have resources to go to. And if you work with a career company, that's great. And many career companies are terrific training people on life insurance, disability, investments, this and that. Many that don't have certain products anymore, but your clients need to know these different things, need to know where the professionals are, and they're right here in NAIFA. So ask us, please. And I'm so happy to have you guys. Thank you, Selena, for coming, and thank you for your presentation. Fantastic. Larry, anything for you to add? Or
I would just say that, first of all, with what Selena said, very important. In fact, our representatives tried to even make it part of the infrastructure package that was being debated a couple of months back. So they see the importance of the coverage. But you want to make sure, again, just to reiterate, that there are no gaps. So the state disability in New York goes up to just under $700. I think I put that in my gas tank yesterday. It's not, I'm not driving a big, RV or anything like that, but it's important to make sure that if it's $680 or $700, whatever it is, if you can live off that a month, God bless you in New York. That's why short-term disability comes into play. You're going to get an extra $1,500 to $2,000 a month on that. Long-term disability can close that gap a little bit more. And then you do the buy-ups or the carve-outs, as John explained. We cut our teeth on, John and I, like I said, went to the same grammar school over at, or I should say college, over at Unum Provident, where they taught us that everything rests on income. And if people are pushing back and saying, we don't need this, or I got it someplace else, just think about this. They can't pay for anything. Not their health insurance premiums, not their life insurance premiums. Maybe they get the waiver on that, but anything else, they need to protect that income. So at the very least, they need to do a budget to figure out what their plan is and how they're going to take care of that. I'll just leave that with this as well, because even you, as seasoned as you are, Neil, you said dentists, doctors, professionals, but that same doctor who didn't want to hire a landscaper, who messed around over the weekend, let's make believe it's spring, and he goes in and he messes around because his lawnmower got stuck, he puts his hand there, starts up, he loses 2 digits, he's no longer a surgeon, okay? That same landscaper does the same thing. These guys are losing their income. And definition of disability is very strong. That's why you talk with the experts and you understand where to place a person, how that will affect them. All of these things come into play. The ability to earn income is the most important thing that you could be discussing with your client.
gotcha. John, anything?
Yeah, so, yeah, I'll leave it with, I think it's really up to us as insurance professionals to really help clients understand the value of their income and what it provides every day. I think income protection truly is a great door opener to people. Maybe you've sold other products to them. People always ask me, where can I get, more leads? Who could I sell income protection to? I always say to them, open up your file cabinet. Anyone 18 to 55 is a good prospect for income protection. Not everyone's a doctor, or lawyer, or Indian chief. There are solutions in the marketplace. You think about a 35-year-old earning $75,000. They will earn almost $5 million by the time they're age 65. Ask that 35-year-old, what are they going to do if their income stops tomorrow? It's our jobs as insurance professionals to help them truly understand the value of their paycheck and what it means today and long-term.
Fantastic. Listen, I want to thank everybody for coming today, and thank you for the terrific presenters. Thank you again. I want to welcome you next month. We're going to have a great Zoom meeting talking about what we're doing legislatively, which is very important with NAIFA. We're also going to have live meetings. We're going to have a live tour. It's going to be fabulous at some great events all over the state. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks again. Looking forward to meeting you and greeting you. Hope you can do a day on the Hill with us. and talk to the legislators about our product. We need to protect our industry. It is the most vital thing. We're all under attack every day. Insurance products, let's keep them tax-free and let's keep them great. Let's keep the consumers healthy. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.